Inflation's down, and StatsCan says it's due to lowering the carbon tax. Hi, I'm Brian Lilley, political columnist for the Toronto Sun. Those of us who are against the carbon tax have been saying for years it would add to inflation, and the Liberal government in Ottawa said, oh, don't be silly, you're going to be richer, you're going to be better off by paying the carbon tax and getting rebates that don't cover the actual cost of the carbon tax. Didn't matter how many studies came out showing that most people, other than the poorest of the poor, paid more. They stuck to this idea that 8 out of 10, in fact, got more back from the government than they paid. It was ridiculous, but those were the claims that they made. They never added into any of their equations the idea that when you tax fuel and then that fuel is used by a trucking company to deliver something to a grocery store, that is going to add on to the inflation. And guess what? You don't get a rebate based on the gas that the trucking company uses to take the food from the farmer's field to the warehouse and then from the warehouse to the store. You don't get a carbon tax rebate on that, but you end up paying the price in food inflation. Well, guess what? Stats Canada came out and said that inflation overall dropped from 2.3% in March to 1.7% in April. What did they put it down to? Lower energy prices. And they specifically cite the consumer carbon tax being taken down to zero. Now, let's be realistic. In April alone, we're not going to see the full impact of lowering the consumer carbon tax down to zero. And we also have to realize that on April 1st, the carbon tax price was lowered to zero, but on April 2nd, Donald Trump had what he called Liberation Day. That's the day that he imposed tariffs around the world, created massive economic and market bedlam. And guess what happened then? The price of oil dropped off the side of a cliff. That is also part of what drove down inflation in the month of April. But mark my words, we will continue to see inflation be impacted by the reduction or the lowering to zero of the carbon tax. It hasn't been eliminated completely yet. I get that. The Carney Liberals say they're going to do that. But we spent years being told by the Trudeau Liberals, by the same cast of characters that surround Mark Carney now, that we needed the carbon tax in place, that it would not drive up prices, that people would get back more than they paid, and that without it, the planet would burn. And now we've got a government in place run by the same bunch of people with a new leader who is even more devoted to carbon taxes and net zero than Justin Trudeau was, that has gotten rid of this carbon tax, and they're trying to pretend that that's a good thing. So which is it? These folks want you to ignore the facts before you and just believe whatever pablum they try to spoon feed you. Sadly, there's a large section of the Canadian population and a good chunk of the Canadian media that will accept whatever pablum is on the end of the shiny spoon the Liberals want to force feed them with. We'll continue to look at the actual data, the actual information, and give you the truth. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment down below. Share this on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.